Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, the 8th of February. It is good to have you with us this evening live. Tell me about your day and what you are grateful for. I'm grateful to have you all here tonight. Oops, so I can get my screens going here. Let's get going here. What is happening in your world today? That is what I want to know. That is what I want to know. It is great to have everybody here and signing in. I'm trying to get all my stuff up here. Come on here. Hey, Kitty, it is great to have you here. How are you feeling? I am thrilled that you are home and to be able to have you here with us live tonight. Hey, Terry, great to have you with us in Florida tonight. Sad that I'm still not in Florida. I was in, although I am glad to be home. Although my desk here, if you could see the camera on my desk here, it is a complete disaster zone, a complete disaster zone. But I am grateful to have you all here. Better but sore. Well, that is good. And enough energy to be on here tonight, so that's a plus, Kitty. I will take that. I'll take that you are here, and that present and accounted for. So that is a very good thing. Hey, everybody, we are broadcasting tonight on both Facebook and YouTube. I think I've lost the YouTube screen. What did I do with it here? Oh, there it is. I am on both Facebook and YouTube. You have any problems with Facebook, hop right on over to YouTube. Cassandra's got the link there for you in the show comments. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. I gotta just write myself one more note because there's like two things I'm talking about tonight. There's lots that I could be talking about, but there's two real things and there's two things y'all wanted to know about. So that is what I am here to talk about tonight. Because the issues are real. It's crazy, but it's true. Crazy but true stuff here, folks. So that is where we are headed tonight. We are headed to crazy but true. Excuse me. Hey, Vina, nice of you to be able to join us live tonight. Great to have you here. I hope all is well in Indiana. Hope all is well in Indiana. So I'm going to get started with the Stay Positive book once I find my glasses under everything else on my desk. Glasses are right next to my mug from Vina, coincidentally. My progress over perfection mug. Thank you, Vina. Here on my desk tonight. Let's get started here on page 188 in the Stay Positive book. And the Stay Positive book is more important now than ever. Be the coffee bean. Life is often difficult. It can be harsh, stressful, and feel like you want to sneeze. And feel like a pot of boiling hot water. The environments we find ourselves in can change, weaken, or harden us. And that's who we truly are. We can be like the carrot that weakens in the pot, or like the egg that hardens. Or we can be like the coffee bean and discover the power in excuse me, the power inside us to transform our environment. Excuse me for just 1 second, folks. So 1 second here. Whew. Well, you can't make up live video, you know? You can't, you can't make up live video. Thank you, everyone. Whoa, that caught me off guard there. But it is great to have you all here. So the hot topic of the night, the night is the Florida texting law, which is actually called the Private Right of Action for Telemarketing and Text Marketing Violations. The private right of action for telemarketing uh, and text marketing violations. And the reality is, the key point here for the way that most stores that follow me operate is about texting and what you do to text your customers and how you do it. This law, let me just give you a little bit of background. This law went into effect, was signed in June of 2021, went into effect in July 2021, and stayed out of the public view to a great extent. It stayed out of the public view to a great extent as lawyers went after the big guys, all the big retailers, anybody big that's tech, not only the stores but CVS and everything else that you might get a text from. Okay, and the lawyers have actually gone after them, and they've created several class action lawsuits that are working their way through the Florida courts. And that is happening, but this law applies to everyone and anyone that is doing it. Okay, well, good to have you here tonight. Absolutely everyone and anyone that is doing any kind of texting to their customers. And the law requires, okay, that if you are texting a Florida resident, that a Florida resident must be able to not only unsubscribe from them, which most of you are all in compliance with that are doing any kind of texting, but it also requires that the number you are texting from, which many times is a short number or an off number, okay, that number that they have to be able to call that number and ultimately reach the business that texted them and ultimately get to a real person, okay, ultimately get to a real person with that business. And that is the key point that businesses are being sued on. They're not being sued on whether the person opted in or opted out. They are being sued on the fact that they can't call the number that they got the text from and get a person with the business. They don't have to be able to get a person 24 hours a day, okay? But so you can be closed and they can have an answering machine, but you have to be able, they have to get a return call, okay? So that is the crux of it. Further, okay, so there are people going around Florida and signing up for texting services with the intent of catching small businesses in this act of inappropriately not being able to reach a real person. And they're suing them. The private action for telemarketing and text marketing violations allows for a $500 per incident. $500 per that they can't get a response, that they can't reach the company yet. Fine. Okay, so the dollars add up really quickly. And these people are going after small businesses, and it's basically a shakedown. Okay, they've got them in their crosshairs, and it is a shakedown. Okay, it's sleazy and it's a shakedown. Okay, because they had no intention of having any type of business relationship with this business. They're doing it for the sole purpose of getting money. and the sole purpose of taking them to court under this law. Uh, and they're looking for some quick settlement. They don't actually want to go to court. Uh, but this really applies to anyone, anywhere in the country that is doing any text marketing. Because the law assumes, hey, Florida Angie, speaking of a Florida person, Florida Angie, the law assumes that if you are texting a Florida person, you are texting them within Florida, regardless of where you're texting them from. Okay, if you are texting a Florida resident, the law assumes that the text was created or meant to be created within Florida. So any business anywhere could actually be charged under this law. It is not a great law. So what do you do? Okay, so what do you do? My recommendation is that, hey, Joanne, how are you? My recommendation is that you do not text any customer of your business until such a time that they can get make a the number that you are texting from can get a return call. I know some texting services have the option to exclude Florida numbers. Okay, so that you to under the premise of staying in compliance with the law. So I know some texting services will allow you to say don't text Florida numbers. And that gets you part of the way there, okay? But in today's world, you don't know who's a Florida resident. And if they are a Florida resident, like let's pick on somebody we all know. Angie. Let's pick on Angie, who is a legal Florida resident. She is a legal resident of the state of Florida. She does not have a Florida area code. She still has her Nebraska area code, but is a legal Florida resident. She is protected under this law as a resident of the state of Florida. And there are lots of people who claim Florida residency without a Florida phone number for tax purposes. There's a lot of tax advantages in the state of Florida, and there are a lot of people that do that. So the best protection for your business with this law is to make sure once that the texting service you use can go back to a number. It doesn't have to be your store. It doesn't. The number that they get texted from doesn't have to be your store phone number, but that number has to go back to your store. And what I mean by that is I already know like Loyal Shops. For those of you that use Loyal Shops for texting, I know that Gary can set it up so that the number that it comes from will ring back to your store. That's perfect. That's all that it needs to do. So Loyal Shops is one service that can set it up and get it working for you, no problem. Just contact Gary and he can get it set up for you. Test that it's working. Test that the number that it's coming from, that the text comes from, can actually reach your store. But it is doable with Loyal Shops. The other services I'm not as familiar with, but I know there are a lot of it today. And Gary fixed Venus today, so it would ring the shop. Yes, that is my number one recommendation. Is do not text your customers until it will ring your shop. That is the best protection in this law. I know some of you have second homes in Florida or vacation in Florida, like I do. You know, you'd hate to get charged or served when you get off at the Orlando airport because you are not in compliance with this law, and and it is a bad law. So our friends at the National Retail Federation. So I have been in contact with so many people the last few days on this. Our friends of the National Retail Federation and the Florida Retail Federation. So that is the NRF and the FRF are working on this law, but it is an uphill battle to get this law changed. Okay, they know that small businesses are getting scooped up in this. They also know that the big guys, okay, they've been working with the big guys because the big guys are helping fight this as well. But they had a bill to change this law in the last session of the legislature. That bill died. To get that bill back in, it has to be introduced by the same person, the same senator who is from Jacksonville, and I forget his name, has to reintroduce a bill that would change this. Um, they have not, thus far, it has not been reintroduced. That doesn't mean it won't be this session. But even if it gets introduced, it is an uphill battle in this. The Trial Lawyers Association, which loves this bill, is very tight with the Florida legislature. So that doesn't mean it's impossible, but they are very tight with them. And as you know, individual retailers, while we want to make some noise about this as small retailers, you also don't want to paint a target on your back. So it's a very delicate balancing act of when to get in front of it from a news standpoint. But know that services like Loyal Shops, other texting services can do it. If Gary can do it, and in the whole scheme of texting, I love Gary, but he isn't the biggest fish in the texting market. The bigger guys should be able to do that as well. Hey Rose, it is great to have you here tonight live. It's great to have you here. Yeah, this law is really is not pretty. Is not pretty in the state of Florida. So I am, but I'm concerned with any store anywhere in the country with it. Is what I'm is my point, which is why I've gotten out in front of this, which is why Angie and I sent out that notice to everybody this morning and posted it everywhere because it really does affect you, could affect you regardless of where your store is. Because your goal is to sell. I mean, like, my own store shipped to every state in the country every month. It's something that I'm really proud of, okay, that we ship everywhere. But, if we texted, that would be a problem. So I always err on the side of caution. I always err on the side of caution. And that is why I say that with the texting. So absolutely, that is your best course is to before you text again, make sure your texting service can do this. And we'll continue to work with our friends at the National Retail Federation, the Florida Retail Federation. I have a store that was able to actually have a conversation with the Florida Senate President of Florida today about the law. Although the Florida Senate President can't actually introduce the legislation or do anything, they really were great at bringing us up to speed on the process and got us a senator who in Jacksonville who had done it last session. And so, hey, Mama Tess is in Florida and watching today. Hey, Mama Tess, so great to that you're watching and that you are in Florida, visiting with Angie. Love that. Love it. Love it. Uh, but it is, just be safe with this. Take it serious. If you are a store that gets served, if you get a lawsuit, take it seriously. Get legal counsel ASAP. You need to respond. This is not something you can't just take the envelope and stick it in a drawer. Okay. You can't just take that and stick it in a drawer. You have to respond to it. Okay. Or you will really be up the creek. That has been the ones that have gotten it really bad is the ones who didn't take it seriously. Hey, Miss Sonia, love you, Miss Sonia. Glad you are here tonight. But take it seriously. Take it seriously. This is a big deal. If you get a suit, take it seriously and make sure your texting service does this. Okay. That is the lesson from this. That is the lesson from others' pain. Okay, can come good things for you. And the good thing is that you have the way to change. Saying you didn't know anything, you didn't know anything about the law isn't good enough. Okay, that you don't know the law does not provide coverage for you. So that is the real key with it. What ignorance of the law is not a defense. Is not a defense. That the person suing is a sleazeball is not a defense. Okay, the courts are just there to enforce the law, to rule on the law as the law is. And so it is not bad judges. It's a bad law, but it's not bad judges and everything. So, I'd even like to say it was a well-intentioned law. Who likes getting telemarketing and spam calls and spam texts and everything else? So I'll argue that it was a well-intentioned law, but it's really roped people in and roped businesses in of all shapes and sizes. So know that. My other big message for you tonight, okay, if you have any questions on it, don't hesitate to reach out. Reach out to myself, reach out to Angie, April. We will all. I'm happy to get you to answer any specific questions you have about your situation. I'm happy to answer them. I've been fielding questions all day. And really all week I've been immersed in Florida law. I also keep in mind, as a disclaimer, I am not a lawyer. I could play one on TV. I'm playing one tonight on Facebook, I guess, but I am not a lawyer. I am a business consultant, but I am not a lawyer. I am a good business person. So that is the one thing. The other thing I wanted to remind you of tonight that's really important, and it will really be important for the rest of this year. So it'll be something that, as Angie gives me a nudge, I'll remind you about, but really keep an eye on this locally. This other thing I have to tell you, hang on a second, I need props. I didn't have my props ready. Who wants money? Who wants money? Does anybody want any? Is there anybody here that likes money? No, nobody likes money. I'm not seeing any likes, any hearts, anything. Nobody likes money. Cash money? Anybody? Nobody likes money? Oh, hang on a second. Now, all of a sudden, I'm seeing some love. I'm starting to see some love here. All right. Well, you will find, if you're paying attention, if you are paying attention, and you need to pay attention, okay, that there is still lots of COVID money out there. Okay, states, cities, towns, chambers of commerce, business associations, business groups, they have money. Okay, these different state agencies, regional commerce groups, small business groups. There are all these groups that have money. Okay, public utilities that have money, actual real hard cash. Okay, real hard cash that they were given to support. They were given by the government to support activities in your area, and they were given a very limited time to spend it, or they have to give it back. They were given parameters on which they could spend it, or they have to give it back. And that time is starting to run out, and will run out at various times throughout the year to these organizations. So they are coming up with all sorts of quick grants for businesses. Massachusetts Utilities just came out with one where they had $1,000 grant for small businesses. $1,000. Who couldn't use $1,000? I mean, it's not big money, but $1,000 is $1,000. I mean, I wouldn't pass by $1,000 if somebody wanted to give it to me. So there's ones for $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. There's all sorts of ones that are just starting to pop up around the country. They have small applications. They have short windows to apply for them. But they're real money because nobody's paying attention to them right now. And so when they pop up like this, you can, there's an opportunity. So keep your Google alerts locally. Stay in tune with what's happening in your Chamber of Commerce and things, because these are the organizations that will tell you that there's a grant for you if you're in a downtown, that there's a grant for you if you get electric from a public utility, that there's a grant for you because the sky is blue and you hired somebody. There's it's a very low bar to qualify. A grant because you're a woman-owned business. There's just all these different ones. The rules are completely different. The what they're calling them is completely different, and they're very local. They are very local, but they are still popping up. You'd think it was earlier in the pandemic, but these grants are still popping up. You can still get them, and they will be popping up as groups realize that these various state agencies realize that they are nowhere close to spending the money, and they hate to give money back. So they'd rather give it away to you than give it back to the federal government. And so, know that is out there. Have your Google alert set, but just pay it. You know, uh, because they just pop up out of nowhere. They just pop up out of nowhere. And that will continue to happen this year. That will continue to happen this year, and you will have some real opportunities there for some real cash. And I can't, uh, don't say no, people. Don't say no. Uh, Cash always helps. Cash always helps. Remember, cash is king, inventory is queen. Cash is king, inventory is queen. You know what else? This video and everything I talk about, this video, uh, uh, Judy, great question. How can you tell the difference between one of these and one of the fake ones? Usually the organization. So I go direct to the organization that's supposedly doing it, not the Facebook link of it. So if you see one that your chamber is doing one, if you see one that the Downtown Business Association, if you see one in your state or in your city for women-owned businesses, I contact the organization directly. Okay, see what happens to make sure that it is legitimate, because there are fakes out there. What keywords would I put in? I would put grant and your city, grant and small business in your city, grant and women-owned business, grant in business in your area, city, town, county, city. I would have that as my Google searches. Karen, in Vermont, it's the same thing. Set up your things to search, because there are things, they're just popping up out of nowhere. I don't know a specific one in Vermont right now, but they are popping up out of nowhere, and I keep on having stores reach out to me to check and say, just like Kitty asked, how do I know? Is this legit? Is this a legitimate grant? And so it is, and I'm helping them verify. When I can, I'm verifying that it's legit. But I usually then go to whatever the organization. So if it's like in Massachusetts, the electric utility was offering one recently, but it was offering it to certain small businesses of a certain size. You had to have under a certain number of employees. You had to have a certain amount, less than a certain amount of revenue. They usually like that you employ somebody. A lot of grants like that you employ somebody, but quite honestly, women-owned business checks a lot of boxes for people. They like to say they supported women-owned businesses, but just keep an eye on it, because they do. They are coming up out of the woodwork. You'll see that throughout the year this year, because some of them end. Um, it's, uh, there's some money that they have to give back starting in March. Remember that all the pandemic emergency started in March. So some of it, if they don't use it, they have to give back in March. Some of it they have to give back at the end of June, beginning of July. Some of it they have to give back at the end of the year. So it depends on when they got their money, when they have to spend it by. Okay, these organizations that got money to support their community. So it really does depend on that. But you know that if they found no other way to do it, they're doing it through grants, and quite honestly, it's a great thing. It's a great thing because it does stimulate. You know, a small business getting a grant, okay, doesn't go buy you another boat. Okay, it does. You invest it right back in your business. You invest it in your team, and they know that. Okay, they know that. And so that is the real key to it. So keep an eye out there. They are you will see them nationwide pop up. I'm seeing them pop up from people in pockets. But it is real, and the opportunity is real. And I'm happy to verify anyone if you're like, is this a legit thing? I'm happy to talk about it. Happy to talk about it. Happy to answer any questions on the texting law, but just be on the right side of it. Be on the right side of it, people. That is where you want to be. You know where else you want to be? This video and everything I talk about. This video and everything I talk about goes over to the YouTube channel. You're not alone with this story. Right, comment, subscribe, and oh yeah, you can hit another one. You can also share it with all of your friends and sisters. Listen, Candlestick Makeup. You can see how everybody builds a score, a team, and a life of excellence. Okay? It doesn't have to be that. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. I'm here every Sunday and Wednesday night at 4 8 ish talking about all things retail and small business, all things retail and small business. I am here every Sunday and Wednesday at 4 8 ish. 4 8 ish. More ish than 8 a lot of times, just the way my day goes. But if you have a question, please email me, Neil, Neil at nextlevelresale.com. Neil at nextlevelresale.com. We start the program every night with the Stay Positive. The Stay Positive book is how we go. Because staying positive is so important. People, it's all mindset here, and it's true. Be the coffee bean. Life is often difficult. It can be hard, stressful, feel like a pot of boiling water. The environments we find ourselves in can change and weaken our hardness and test who we are. We can feel like the carrot that weakens in the pot, or the egg that hardens, or we can be like that coffee bean that discover the power inside us to transform our environment. While fear and worry can weaken or harden you, love transforms you and the people around you and situations around you. Yes, they do. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Neil. I feel like a party, a wedding, a barbecue. We do a party again. We do a party in person. There in Orlando. Boy, did we party. We taco, we Brazilian steakhouse, we Italian, we did everything in Orlando. It was neat. But until Sunday at morning, it is know that you and you, but most importantly, you, yes, you're not alone running this store. Have a great night.